Uh, All right. Thanks for everyone who is here. My name is Jess Lamar Reese Holler. I am the coordinator and secretary of the board at Terradise Nature Center outside of Caledonia here in Marion County. And this is our second info session for the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency, which is a really special paid opportunity. The only paid artist residency and the only artist residency that we're aware of in Marion or Morrow County, possibly the only paid artist residency in the North Central Ohio region. So we're very grateful to be able to offer this with support from the Ohio Arts Council. And we're offering these info sessions in this year, which is our second year, to try to make this residency opportunity more accessible to more artists. And you can feel free for folks on the call to stop me at any time as well. And then we'll stop the recording and have an info session after we walk through the application. And not sure what happened to the other person, but we'll just keep going. So cool. So first of all, what is Terradise Nature Center? We are a 5+ complicated, I'll share more about that when we get into the history, acre nature preserve along the Whetstone River. Officially, it's the Olentangy River, but there's lots of reasons why that wasn't the actual indigenous name that was used. So locally, we call it the Whetstone, near Caledonia in the eastern part of Marion County along the border with Morrow County, the headwaters of the Whetstone River, actually up in Morrow County, possibly into Crawford County, I forget. And Terradise is the historic home of Trella and Ray Romine, who were totally pioneering Caledonia conservationists, organizers, local historians, artists, naturalists. They really were huge activists of their day and were so far ahead of their time in bringing together arts and culture and conservation and environments. And they were actually really involved in the movement to identify and preserve what's called the Sandusky Plains, which is a really unique tended indigenous prairie formation, totally unique in the state of Ohio in Marion County, southern Wyandotte, and southern Crawford County. We'll get into more of that in a minute, but not just a nature center, like the home of activists who were doing this work in the 50s and 60s, which if you know much about the history of environmentalism in the United States was, quite early in this sort of movement. In 2018, Terradise Nature Center was incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit. Following Trella Romine's passing in 2013, we were founded by her son, David Haldeman, as a way to turn this amazing space that was the hotbed of so much organizing for environment and culture and arts in Marion County into a publicly accessible space. Super awesome. Our mission, quite simply, is to inform our communities about their natural and cultural heritages. And I note this again because it's unusual amongst nature centers. You often have arts and culture organizations and facilities or nature centers that do nature and conservation stuff, but we really not only do both, but we want to integrate them. And that's really the space that this environmental arts residency grows out of, which we are so excited about. So thank you for being here today and for anyone listening to the call. We are, little known fact, we get asked this all the time. We are open dawn to dusk, 365 days a year, to anyone. You don't have to sign up. There is a house there. It might look kind of weird, but come visit Terradise. Anyone can come, whether you're in the residency program or not, 365 days a year. And we just had someone else join, but I think they're not on audio yet. So hopefully that's okay for them. So a little bit about our history and our founders, who are very, very special to me. We were founded by, as I mentioned, Trella and Ray Romine. We're located along this very important stretch of the Whetstone River. And this space of the Whetstone River, I really want to acknowledge, is located on the traditional land of the Miami and the Shawnee people and the refugee lands of the Wyandot people who were displaced here from along Lake Huron and the other Great Lakes due to settler colonialism in the region. And so this area was very ecologically important, was a hunting ground of many indigenous peoples, especially the federations of indigenous peoples that came together after white people started doing genocide and pushing into this territory. It was protected, it was tended, very, very important. And the Owl Creek, or the Kokosing Trail, a very important indigenous trail, crossed right through the river, right around our location. Trella and Ray Romine. Trella was a florist and Ray was a postman and a poet in Marion County. Purchased this land in 1852. Trella had a dream of living on a hill by a river in a woods, and Terradise fulfilled that dream. And the name Terradise actually was a coinage by poet Ray Romine, which meant heaven on earth. So lovely, cute little story there about how they named this land, and just very interesting poetic people. Hey there, Jake. You can keep your camera on or off if you want. Probably more important to hear, but whatever you'd like to do. We're just talking a little bit about the history of Terradise and where it comes from. Can you hear us okay? Okay. You might want to mute if you're getting feedback, but otherwise, just to catch you up really quick, we just talked about what Terradise is. We're a 501c3 nature center founded on 5 acres, but there's a longer story there. We do both environmental work, preserving our natural history, and also cultural history and arts. That's very unique for a nature center. It's also unique for an arts organization and a culture and heritage organization to focus on environment. The nature center is open dawn to dusk every day of the year. And these are our very cute, wonderful founders, Trella and Ray Romine, who were big activists for arts, culture, heritage, local history, and conservation and prairie work. As I was saying, and we've got Fiora here on the call as well, and then anyone watching out in cyberspace, they lived here and bought this space that was very important to Indigenous people in the 50s, and basically made it a hub for all of their interests and passion. Ray was really involved in hybridizing iris. They planted and reclaimed lots of local native plants and grasses on the prairie. They wrote poetry. They had tons of community meetings and organizing there. So think of like an amazing house that's the hub of all this community organizing, but in the 50s. Terradise really did kickstart lots of movements, but especially the local history movement. Trello went on to be one of the founders of the Marion County Historical Society in 1969 and the Sandusky Plains Conservation Movement. Ray tragically passed away right after they built their house in 1954. There's a really beautiful movie made from original 16mm film on our Terradise website that David Haldeman, Trella's son, put together if you're interested in that. Here's just some old-timey photos of them. Ray was also really well known as a lepidopterist, which means butterfly collector. His entire collection is now at the Ohio History Center down in Columbus, but is still famed and cited lots today in journals and articles about butterfly collecting. He was a postman, had a postal route in Marion, and was one of the most widely published poets of his day. He had hundreds and hundreds of poets in Saturday Evening Post and all of those sort of journals of the day. And he wrote what he called light verse, a lot of it inspired by nature in his time at Terradise. And here's Trella, super amazing, spunky, incredible woman and organizer, and her son David, her daughter Kathy, and Trella and Ray's irises at Terradise. Trella was a prolific journalist or a diarist, and her son David, pictured here, who's Terradise Nature Center's founder, actually has digitized almost all of her diary entries. She kept them her whole life. So if you want to get to know her, she not only published a biography, but if you go to terradicebooks.org or on our website, we have links. You can read all of her diary entries. She's just an incredible pioneering person, total badass, just such a legacy in the community, and a really fascinating way to get to know what life was like for a woman organizing in the arts and culture and heritage and conservation space, 50s, 60s, 70s. Here's some amazing slide photos of life at Terradise in the 50s with Trella and her kids. This is the Romine residence house and Ray's Iris along Whetstone River Road. So it's a beautiful place, and we're very lucky to have this archive showing its history over time. After Ray passed, Trella went on to be very involved in local history in Marion County. If you've ever seen a lot of these Ohio historic marker signs from around Marion County, they were probably Trella's doing. She was very involved in what today is the Ohio Local History Alliance, the Ohio Museums Association, and her biggest passion was reclaiming these prairies that made up the Sandusky Plains Prairie Formation. Again, super unique oak savanna region where these wide open prairies with natural native grasses and oak trees that was tended by the indigenous people who lived and hunted and took care of this land. And Trella discovered, along with an amazing community member named Kensel Clutter, that the plants of the Sandusky Plains, which had otherwise been made extinct, still survived in these little patches along the railway. The railway came through Marion County in the 1800s, and she called them remnant railway prairies. So she protected and preserved those prairies, took those plants, propagated them, and then helped create new prairies to recreate those species and revitalize the prairies across Marion County. So this Clarendon Prairie, this is right over by Caledonia by the railroad tracks. And she went on to help with all of these reconstructed prairies, like I said, at OSU Marion and across the county. So again, a totally incredible 20th century organizer for environment and prairie. So that's our legacy and what Terradise does. We're not just a nature center and a space to visit. So what do we do today? I say Terradise is 5 acres. We are on the Whetstone River Road side of Terradise. If you type into Google, you've got two options, Terradise Nature Center and Terradise Nature Preserve. Why are there two? Well, when Trella was living, she helped create the Marion County, or I'm going to forget the official name. She created the Marion Parks District by donating about 12 acres of her original 18 acres to create this parks district. So on the far side of the Whetstone River, that is Terradise Nature Preserve, and that's tended by the Marion County Parks District. Awesome people. James Anderson is their naturalist. Highly recommend his YouTube videos and any of the stuff and programming that he does. Our side, Trella held on to because she lived there. That was where the house was, the Romine residence. And when she died, David, her son, made it the Terradise Nature Center. So we work together. All of the land is accessible to the public, but technically there are two entities. And we are the ones with the house and doing the culture and heritage and arts residency in addition to natural programming. So just make sure if you're trying to visit us, you type in Terradise Nature Preserve, you'll end up on the other side of the river. There's a nice shelter, things like that. The side with the house and the parking lots and the pond and the trails is our side of the river, Terradise Nature Center. I know it's a little confusing. We're working on that in our strategic plan and our branding this year. So what do we do at Terradise Nature Center? We do environmental education. Our past executive director, Tyler, super amazing, works for Morrow County Schools now at Mount Gilead. Did a lot of environmental education program. We offered school-based education programs, both in the class and getting kids out to Terradise. We have what we call the Feet on the Ground Hands-on Conservation Series. So it's opportunities for folks in Marion and Morrow County or from anywhere to get involved in doing conservation. That includes us restoring an amazing prairie across the street from Terradise. So every year we do a prairie cleanup. You can get involved in removing species that maybe aren't supposed to be there in the ecosystem, planting new ones, doing controlled burns, etc. We also offer retreat visits to Terradise Nature Center, which is awesome. We actually, one of our major sources of revenue as a nonprofit is the Romine Residence, a beautiful mid-century modern 50s ranch house, is rentable via Airbnb for nature getaways. We have families coming from all over the country and the region. We're booked almost every night, actually. It's also rentable for board meetings during the day. We also have a Romine Legacy Committee, which is really committed to sharing the stories of Trella and Ray and the awesome stuff that they did in their life. And we're so lucky to have their archive, all of these amazing photos, 16mm films, slides, diary entries, the books they wrote, all of the manuscripts of Ray's poetry. So we, on the Romine Legacy Committee, try to interpret their work and amplify their work. And that includes a project to digitize all of Trella and Ray's manuscripts, diary entries, all of that. And we have a new exhibit called Caledonia Conservationists that'll tell their story that's been funded by the Ohio Arts Council. And that will be coming up later in 2023, May and June, and potentially some more work later in the summer. And we also, that's why you're here today, do arts and culture programming, including our Terradise Environmental Arts Residency and Tunes at Terradise. Why does a nature center do art stuff? Well, again, as you guys probably have figured out from this presentation, Trella and Ray were very incredible, holistic people who were very involved in arts, culture, photography, poetry, in addition to their naturalism work. That's something that was so important to them. And it's really important to us to continue that legacy by offering this beautiful space at Terradise to provide paid opportunities for artists to further their work. We're also, our big thing is working on building a Frank Lloyd Wright inspired cantilevered interpretive center over the Whetstone River. So we're going to be fundraising for that in the next 3 years. So I'm not here yet, but stay tuned. So what you are here for, I know it's almost 12:20. I love getting into the history and what we do, but I'm going to tell you guys about the residency now. So what is the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency? It is a paid artist residency for artists living in, working in, or from Marion and Morrow County. And the last one I want to talk about, because we interpret from very broadly, we really try to take a decolonizing framework and recognize that lots of people have ties to places who have been forcibly removed from those places due to indigenous dispossession, due to racism, due to our community not being safe for all people, for lots of reasons that we're working to change. So we are open to people defining being from Marion and Morrow County however they'd like. That includes maybe your mom or your dad or your grandparents are from there. Maybe you're from an indigenous community like the Wyandot peoples of now of Kansas and Oklahoma with historic ties to this region, but you haven't lived there. Maybe 2 or 3 generations or 4 or 5 haven't lived there. So however you would like to describe having deep connections to or being from Marion and Morrow County. It doesn't have to mean you grew up there or graduated from school there. We want you to define that in ways that feel good for you. Terradise Environmental Arts Residency is a non-residential residency. That means we don't offer housing. We do have the Romine Residence House, but that's rented via Airbnb. But we are not trying to bring in artists from New York and around the country to come to Caledonia. We feel like that's a problematic model. We're trying to provide opportunities for artists in and connected to Marion and Morrow County. So if you're not living in or from Marion and Morrow County, you do need to find your own housing, unless you talk to us and try to arrange something if there's a special circumstance. All you have to do as a part of this residency is come visit Terradise 3 times during your residency month. Hopefully that's not too onerous. We are not means testing this. We are not checking. You don't have to punch a card. It's the honor system. Please visit 3 times. Some artists visit every day. Some, I think, maybe visit the last 3 days of their residency month. It's not ideal for making work inspired by Terradise, but whatever works for you. We know it's a pandemic and life is hard right now. And you create a residency project. You're going to pitch that to us in your application. That is creating new original work in any genre. It can be multiple genres. We know lots of artists are multidisciplinary during your residency. And all we ask is that new work be inspired by our property, our history, our mission, or our legacy. That could be someone actually making work, digging into the diary entries of Trella Romine, looking at Ray's poetry, working with our slide decks or our historic film. But it could also just be visiting the Nature Center and being inspired by the beautiful space to create new work. It could be working with materials like physical plants and things like that on site at Terradise to create new work, or it could be a more abstract connection that you just need this space to create something. So it can be, again, as much as like an explicit poem, not explicit like inappropriate, but like explicitly something based on the Whetstone River in our history, or soundscape recordings taken at Terradise, or something much more abstract, like that you are just getting peace and solace from being able to come out to this space and producing work that you want to produce. So anything in that gamut. And the last thing we ask is that all artists co-produce with us and the other artists for your month a public program. You do not, there will be 2 artists each month, I should say. March, April, May, and June of 2023. You don't have to collaborate with that other artist, but to get you an audience and to make things more streamlined for our community, instead of asking you each to do a 1-hour public program at a different time, we roll those together into one 2-hour event. So there'll be a big public event at the end of your residency. You will pick that date together with us. We're not going to assign you a date, but if you are like not free, it's at the end of the month. So if you're not free like for the last 2 weeks of April, like maybe that's not a good month to sign up for, because we do try to have it be like on the last Saturday of the month or like the next Saturday of the month after, just so we can keep a good flow and have programming throughout this residency. One of the beautiful things about it is we pay you to create new work, and it provides programming for us and for our audience to come out and enjoy Terradise through the lens of these different artists who make use of it. But we'll work with you on that. We'll promote it. We'll get you in touch with the other artists and coordinate this over Zoom. But it's not like you have to go out to Terradise for your 3 visits with the, you say you're a painter and there's a blues musician who's also that month. It's not like you guys have to visit together and create work together. You can if you want to, but your residency is yours. And finally, we provide a stipend of $1,000 to support our artists. We're very proud of that. A lot of very well-known arts residencies across the country provide smaller stipends or no stipend. They may provide housing and food, but this is money dedicated to allowing the artists who come into this residency to produce new work. We really want you to go where you need to go. And we know that it's a tough economy. A lot of artists are working other jobs, which may or may not be your passion. So we hope this money can help offset some of that and give you time to produce the work you feel called to produce, even if it's something you haven't figured out yet or something you haven't gotten to return to for a long time. And we have 8 slots available. So 2 artists in March, 2 in April, 2 in May, and 2 in June. That timeline is a combination of our Ohio Arts Council grant, which has to be wrapped by June because of their fiscal year, and trying to find months where the weather is good enough that artists are going to want to come out, and we'll have folks out for our public programs. That said, we did have artists, 2 artists in residence in February of last year, and that event was our biggest event of the whole series. We had like 60 people. So if you have a March residency, don't worry, it's not a big deterrent for people, and it's really cool to get to see Terradise across the seasons. All right, we're at 12:30. I'm going to keep going here. We are open to artists in all genres. We truly mean that. A lot of residencies are just open to fine artists. My other job, I run Marion Voices, Folk Life and Oral History, which is a countywide folk and cultural arts for social justice program in Marion County. Trust me, we want this to be accessible to all artists. If you do something that is creative, pitch it to us. We are not going to police boundaries and say that's not an art. And once you look at the application, you'll see that we've got about 55 check boxes for different kinds of genres, and you can write in your own. We are open to folk and traditional cultural artists, fine artists, performance arts, music, writing, outdoorsmanship. There's lots and lots of options. Whatever you do that speaks to your spirit as an artist and a maker. I'm not going to say the word creative because it like makes me cringe. I hate that word. But whatever you do, pitch it to us. We'd love to support you. And this is hugely important. It was from the beginning, and especially in our grant this year. We are seeking artists from marginalized backgrounds and communities who have not had the chance to have a paid or supported opportunity to produce original creative work. That could be because you're maybe not a professional artist, or are intimidated by applying to residencies or haven't had the training to be able to access that. That could be because you have a positionality that's marginalized in this country and especially in Marion and Morrow County. That could be artists of color, that could be queer and trans artists, that could be artists with disabilities, elder artists over 65, youth artists under 18, immigrant and newcomer artists or artists who speak languages other than English as their primary language and face a language justice barrier. Anyone who has experienced marginalization, working class artists and artists living with low income, who might be caregivers full time, whatever your situation, we are especially seeking artists that have not had opportunities like this to develop their work. So we have sections where you can describe your identity categories optionally if you want, and we really, really want to honor and provide those opportunities for artists who have experienced structural difficulties accessing this as well. We are the only artist residency in Marion and Morrow County, and I'm pretty sure we're the only paid artist residency in the entire North Central Ohio region. We're super proud of that and have lots of inquiries coming in from artists around the country, but we really want to protect this residency for artists living in, working in, or with family and ancestral connections to Marion and Morrow County. And I got to say, we are generously supported by an Arts Next grant from the Ohio Arts Council. They are awesome, all about access, and have done so much in the last few years to support artist programs and opportunities in Marion and Morrow County, for Terradise, for Marion Voices, for the Village of Caledonia. So just want to give it up to the Ohio Arts Council for making this possible. For all of you on the call and listening here, they are awesome. Truly walk the talk in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion and making arts accessible. Couldn't love them more. They're incredible. So how do you apply? We've got a lot of options this year. As I mentioned, we wrote into our grant sessions like this. Office hours, you can book me for technical assistance. I'll help you all along the way. We want to make this accessible. And as a part of that, we're also expanding the ways that you can apply this year with attention to folks who might be facing difficulties with access to computer, internet, or maybe just haven't been trained up in those modes and that's not accessible and comfortable to them. So you can apply online via a web application, or you can apply on paper via the mail. And our paper applications, hilariously, can be downloaded on the website. Probably not a lot of help if you don't have a computer or internet, but they are also right now at post offices across Marion County's villages and will be soon at post offices across Morrow County as well. What does the application require? We'll actually go through this later in this call, but basic artist information, your name, things like that, demographics and identity. There's a lot of opportunities that are optional to discuss your identity categories and experiences because that matters to us, but that's up to you what you would like to disclose. Artist statement, these are like our core narrative pieces. An artist statement that's short, I think it's 250 words. Residency vision, which is essentially what's your project? What do you want to do with your residency? Residency purpose. Why does this residency and having this space and time to come to Terradise matter for you in your trajectory, your artistic development? We want to hear things like, maybe you're working some other job that's sort of outside of what you want to do, but like secretly you really wanted to write plays and you haven't gotten the chance to do it. We just want to hear like how this is going to help you in your trajectory. And then a short biography, we'll use that to promote you in your residency if you are selected. And 5 work samples. You can do any combination if you're applying online of links and uploads, 5, and just give us some titles and descriptions. If you're applying on paper, it's a little bit more complicated because we're going to have to figure out, like, are you putting things on a floppy disk? Please don't, or a USB or a CD, etc. It's a little more complicated, but we'll work with you. New this year for accessibility, because we know that writing is, access to writing training is raised, gendered, classed, all of that. A lot of people aren't comfortable in writing for a lot of reasons that have to do with structural inequities in our country and in our education system. You can upload audio and video responses for any of these core sections, our artist statement, our residency vision, and our residency purpose. We do ask for the bio to be in writing just because we're going to put that in emails. It makes our life easier. If that's a burden or an accessibility barrier, let us know. But you can literally like sit with your phone and record a 2 minute, here's my residency vision, here's my purpose, here's my artist statement, upload those, ready to go. You don't have to write an essay. That's a source of anxiety for a lot of people, reminds us of like terrible tests in high school. So we really want that to be accessible to more people. Also new this year, a couple of things. You can save your application and return later. You get a convenient link so you don't have to do it in one go. We had a lot of feedback last year that that is a burden. That is not cool. Very stressful. I don't know what the questions are next. So we changed that. Similarly, people didn't know what the questions were. You have to get through section 1 to get to section 2 and 3. So this year there's a PDF download of all of the application questions. So you can prepare, you can type up your responses in Google Docs, Pages, Word, Notes, whatever you use, and then return later. And finally, like I said, paper applications and flyers with all this info are available across Marion and Morrow County. The paper applications as of this date, the 18th of December, are not yet at post offices in Morrow County. We've got to do another run. Morrow County is surprisingly big, especially to get out to Chesterville. It takes about 40 minutes from Marion. So we will have those there soon. And applications are due February 1st at 11:59 p.m. online and postmarked by February 1st if you are mailing them in. Again, everything due February 1st. And let me just say, application wise, we have a selection committee. It's going to be 5 or 6 or 7 people. We've got 4 paid community selection committee members, including folks in the local community, returning selection committee members from last year, returning artist who is an alumni of the program, some other community members. We have a really awesome rubric that helps committee members score and assess applications. It really does prioritize diversity, equity, inclusion, and access. Again, that's really fundamental to what we do with this residency. And then we go through about a 4-hour Zoom meeting, and after everyone comes to the meeting having read and ranked the applications, then we discuss every single applicant. People change each other's minds, and then we look at our top ranking. We have 8 slots this year, so we'll see who ended up in those top 8 slots. And then if something doesn't seem quite right or there's someone down further in the list, we'll talk about that. And then we email everyone out. And we intend to let all artists know by the end of February so that whoever's on for March is ready to go and comes right in. So that's how it works. I know I've been talking a lot. I promise I'll end this soon, walk through the application, take questions. Frequently asked questions, super quick. There's an FAQ section on our website. You can read that. We'll be updating it as we get more questions. But is there an age limit? No. Open to anyone. Truly, if you are a young person under 18 and interested in this, we're happy to work with you. If you are an elder and have disability or access issues coming out to Terradise, we're happy to work with you. Do you have to be living in Ohio? Not necessarily this year. Our priority is still artists from Ohio, but we recognize especially indigenous communities with ties to North Central Ohio were dispossessed. The Wyandotte people were forcibly removed from their reservation near Upper Sandusky in 1843 and sent to Kansas and to Oklahoma. So we really want to be open, especially to our indigenous communities that have roots here and may not be living in Ohio, but you let us know what you need and we'll work with you and consider your application. What does it mean to be from Marion and Morrow County? We went through this a little bit earlier, but define that as you will. It's pretty straightforward if you live and work in Marion and Morrow County. But if you personally didn't grow up there, but your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors are from Marion and Morrow County, we would like to receive an application from you. And there's a section where you can just describe, it's called like county relationship. You can describe your connection to Marion and Morrow County. And finally, what makes for good work samples? That's like kind of at the crux of an artist residency application, right? Showing your work samples. And there's no one size fits all answer. You can book me for technical assistance office hours through January, and I'm happy to help you look through work samples with you. But I would say there's a lot of approaches. Say you are a ceramicist and you are a poet and you're applying for a residency doing ceramics work. Well, like maybe you don't want to give us 5 poetry work samples because the selection committee will want to evaluate your ceramics work since that's what you've proposed in your residency vision. But if you're a multidisciplinary artist working in quilting, hip hop, and foodways, you might want to include samples that show different parts of that so we can see your kind of total profile as an artist. So it's really up to you and the sort of story you want to tell about yourself for this. Like I said, new this year, you can save your application, access questions, get paper applications. And the big thing, I have many hours, not infinite, but like 15 or 20 available for technical assistance through January. I have 2 Zoom sessions booked. Those are on the flyer. I can show you them. I think I got to look them up. They're in January. But those are kind of hours where I'll just be like waiting on Zoom and happy to help artists. You can also just book me one-on-one and say, hey, Jess, here's my application. Can you review the draft? Or can you help me brainstorm how to write my artist statement? Or can you look through some of my work samples and help me decide what might be the strongest application? Happy to do that. I'm really inspired by grants officers that I've worked with, like the amazing Andy Veerhoff, who runs the Ohio History Fund. And, what he always told applicants is like, I will help you and be your biggest advocate until the application is due. And then I turn into a pumpkin and I'm an administrator and I can't root for you. But up until that point, February 1st, I am here, first come, first serve. Please book me. I would love to help any artist with their application. Our default, because of disability justice, is to do those sessions on Zoom or on phone for access. That's not accessible to you for reasons. We can try to arrange to meet you at Terradise Nature Center at our office and help you there. If you need professional photography of your work, things like that for work samples, we can even do that. But those hours probably will run out as folks book me up, and I will not be as accessible like the night before. If you call me at 10 o'clock the night before February 1st, probably I'm going to be limited in how much I can help you. So just book early. And again, apps are due February 1st. This is just a quick look at our artists from last year. This is Josh Groves, a local ceramicist who teaches at Cardington High School. We had Michelle Montag and Josh Groves in February, pencil drawing and ceramics. In March, we had Chelsea Dittman, who did haiku, photography, embroidery, and Jonathan Campbell, who's a fly fisherman and actually did fly fish tying and awesome traditional outdoorsmanship art. So definitely in the folk and cultural arts world. In April, we had Chris Gurman, who does electronic music and environmental soundscapes. He actually sampled soundscapes from around Terradise and worked them into synthesizer compositions and did a plein air performance, which was awesome. Deborah Jesse, who's a memoirist and wrote a children's book about native plants. In May, we had LaCosta Mays, who's an incredible R&B, funk, soul, gospel musician, and Araby Sexton, who's an herbalist. Their workshop was really awesome. And then we had a special month we made up from May 15th, my birthday, to June 15th, because we wanted to squeeze more artists into the good weather. So we had Alberta Kress, who's a quilter and a sewing artist, and Tim Gorenflow, who's a painter and a pastel artist and a community arts organizer in Prospect. And in June, we had Steve and Christy Moore, who perform as Full Moon, an awesome sort of singer-songwriter, 70s rock folk duo, and Michaela Berry, who's an amazing painter, photographer, and a younger artist from Caledonia who's a student at Ohio State. So that was our slate from last year. And no more upcoming sessions, cross that out, that's today. But here are the technical assistance office hours that I've got booked. See Sunday, I don't know what that means, but on Sunday, January 8th, I'm going to be on Zoom, apparently, RIP my weekend, from 12 to 4. And that's again a Sunday. And then Tuesday, January 7th from 5 to 8. You can also just reach out, email me by request, phone, Zoom, or in person. Here to help until my hours run out with technical assistance. The most important need to know things, and my goodness, I've almost taken up our hour. I promise you guys will get to talk and I'll walk you through the app. But the most important websites are terradise.org/arts-residency. That's like our splash page. You can click through there to get to the application. It also tells a little bit about who we are and what we do. And then if you want to access the application itself, that's terradise.org/tear, kind of an awful name, tier, depending on if you're sad or angry, tier or tear, hyphen 2023 hyphen application. That's the application itself. There's a bunch of different sections, and that's where you access everything. And finally, my contact information. I'm Jess. You can contact me at terradisenaturecenter@gmail.com. You could put TEAR, TEAR 2023 in the subject line. We've got our whole board checks that email, but that way I'll know to get to that. Again, terradise.org/arts-residency. Here's my phone number. And you can also write to me if that's more accessible at my PO box in Caledonia. So I know I've talked for way too long. I'm just going to take like 10 minutes if it's cool before we take questions and talk you guys through the application itself, and we'll look at it. But before we jump in there, does anyone have questions right now or anything you want to look back over in the slides? And I can put these up on our website as well. Any questions? I know that was very fast.
There was a few slides ago. It had to do with the artist statement and also the artist the residency vision and purpose, like those. So I'm kind of curious as like reiterate those because I was paying attention, but I have ADHD and sometimes
Totally. Well, what I can do, it's all explained in the application, but the next thing we'll do is actually like look at all of those questions in the application, and there's like a whole little paragraph explaining what we want. Do you think it would be most helpful to look at it there? Because
yeah, that's fine.
there's more details. Yeah, I was trying to give a high level
Oh,
overview.
no, 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 that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Totally, did not go into all the details, and like I feel the same way. I'm like, what's vision versus purpose is kind of vague, but no,
That's what I was
we
wondering.
will,
That was the
yeah,
main thing.
we will show everyone, and it's in the application, and you can download the PDF. So I will walk through all of that next. That's a fantastic question.
Eh,
Any other questions from folks on the call? All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us. I know we've been 45 minutes or so. So give me, gonna stop share for a minute here, and then I'm going to share again and show you guys our website and our application. So can everyone see this okay? So
yes.
awesome. Thanks for the feedback too, Fiora. I love that. Makes me feel like I'm not speaking into the total void. Although again, I totally respect people's rights to have cameras off, and that's always my choice myself. So here's our main website, terradise.org, right? You'll come in on a splash page here. And if you ever can't remember our links and want to find info about the residency, you go to TNC programs and it's right at the top, Terradise Environmental Arts Residency. You click that. My internet's a little slow here, but takes you to this beautiful picture of Trella and Ray. They're actually cutting birthday cake. So cute. And this is the information about our residency. And you'll see green buttons a couple places. That's where you access the actual application details. This is just like the splash page. Has a lot of the things I talked about in the slide. What are we asking artists to do? What do you have to do? What do you get? You can click and download a lot of things. Like if you click here, this gives you the flyer. So that's a really awesome overview of our residency. It has the Zoom link and information. And this is the same Zoom link you will use to come to the office hours in January as well. And it also has how to contact us about the residency and the deadline. And if you want to download this or print it for a friend, it's right there. You can also preview the application questions. We've got a lot of PDFs available. This is 26 pages. The application is not that long. We just wanted to cram all the info in here since folks may have limited access. It gives you a lot more details, what we're looking for, tells you about where this residency came from. A lot of the stuff we covered in this info session. We have our FAQ printed out, so you can access that. And then at about page 13, that's when the application actually starts. This is not where you apply. Do not type into this and send it back to us. This is just something you can print out to think about your questions in advance. I'll actually show you what the real application looks like in a minute, but that is there so you can kind of see what the application actually asks. We've got lots of options for identity categories. And if we didn't think of something, please let us know. We would be happy to add that. We want everyone to feel that their multitude of intersecting identities are able to be represented here. And then this gets into, as you can see, like the 50 options for your genres and then the narrative questions. So here, Fiora is like where we go into quite a bit of detail about what the vision asks for, right? Like share ideas about a potential project. What new artwork do you want to create? Illustrate how the new work you create will explicitly engage our property, history, mission, or legacy. Describe a vision for a 1-hour community event you'd like to do will help. And you can do that by writing, or you can do that by uploading audio or visual. Yeah.
My question had to do with since you mentioned as far as accessibility
Yes.
goes, as far as doing like the ones those well further down, as far as the like it says like 500 words, 250
Oh,
words or
yep.
whatever. So
Uh-huh.
what I was wondering is if I did do audio or video, if
Yes.
there's is there a particular minimum you would want me to fit with that?
Yes,
Like,
we said no more than 2 minutes. There's like a website you can go to see like how many minutes is equivalent to 500 words. You can do longer than that, but not too much longer, just because our selection committee has a lot to get through. We had 30 applications last year for 12 slots, and we're better known this year, so we'll probably have more. So I would say under 5 minutes, but probably
I was gonna say like a 5 minute max.
I would say like at least 2 though, because
Yeah.
we don't want our audio and visual responders to like not have the same chance to share about their work as someone writing. So I would say 2 minutes is probably the minimum to be able to say, here's my project, here's how it's connected to Terradise. Here's what I want
Is
to do, but something in that range. So
is it possible to do both? Is that
yeah,
like a potentiality?
I would say you could write. I mean, we're not policing this. We're really flexible. So I would say if you did a 5-minute video and a 500-word response, our application, some of our selection committee members might be like, oh my gosh, that's so much. But if you wanted to write, 250 words and do a 2-minute video or something like that, I would say whatever works for you. That's a great question.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, anything else from you? Jake, do you have any questions on the call right now? We're good to go? Okay. So, and then the purpose, I'll show you guys the actual app again, but the purpose is a little bit different than vision. It's more like wanting to know who you are as an artist and how this residency kind of fits into your life, trajectory, career, spirit, whatever that is for you. So we ask, what's your connect? You don't have to answer all of these things, but it's just some guidance. Folks last year said we want more guidance on this. So what's your connection to the natural world? What does the Whetstone River or the woods and prairies of Marion and Morrow County, whatever your forest or park or river is mean to you? Is there something you're curious to learn about Terradise, our physical site and property, our history, our legacy as a part of your residency? And how does it matter for your personal or professional arts practice? So the way we distinguish them is kind of think about vision as like, what's your project? What are you going to do? What are you going to make? What's your event? And how does it connect to Terradise, our history, or our place? And then purpose is kind of like, how is this meaningful for you as an artist? What's your connection to environment, and where is this going to get you? So I hope that makes sense. And then it's a short bio, and then work samples. So again, we say 5 samples. We can accept any of the following formats. If you are a photographer or videographer, please don't send us HEIC files, which is like the live photo that iPhones create. A lot of our panelists don't have Mac access and they can't access those files. So we've actually like turned it off so you can't submit those files this year. We had some last year, and I had a lot of panelists call me the morning of the panel meeting being like, I don't know what HEIC is. I don't know how to access them. Or so we're not doing that this year, but standard stuff, PNG, GIF, JPEG, for audio, MP3, MP4 Wave, MP3, MP4 Move for video, and PDF for written work. Please don't send us Word doc files. Again, we've got folks with lots of different systems, various ages, so we just want to keep it universal. And it's any combo of uploads or links, and then we just ask you to describe them with a title and a description. I'm going to show everyone on the call the actual application now, unless we have more questions. Again, please don't type into the PDF. That's just for you to prepare your responses ahead of time if you're applying online. So to get to the application, you click apply now. It's here. It's at the bottom. Actually, maybe is that bad luck? I can click at the top if that's better luck. I'm very superstitious. So here's our application itself. And there's some cool tabs. We're very proud of our little cute icons here. I'm not a web developer, so I worked very hard with our web guy to figure out how to get some extras of those. But this is, again, just standard stuff that we talked about on the call. So you can either next through all of this about Terradise, about the residency, but if you've done this info session or watched this video, that's just for review. We've already gone over some of this. Application help is, again, where you have to sign in for accessing those technical support sessions in January, but you can just text me, email me, and I will schedule that with you. Here's our FAQ. I'm going to add to that as questions come in, so you can look through that if it's interesting or useful. And then application with the little nib quill pen, that is where you actually do the application. PDFs, there's no click through to that. But again, if you want one place to download any of this, if you want to send this to a friend or access it, that's got our flyer. It's got our info packet with questions, which is that huge 26-page file. It's kind of intimidating. And then you can just download the questions only. And then there's also a paper application at the bottom. That is, the paper application is a little bit different than the digital application because the instructions are different, because no one's like uploading files, right? So don't download the paper application unless you're planning on applying in paper, because it's a little bit different. So click on application, and that takes you to the application. I know we're like almost out of time, but hope this is helpful. There's 6 sections, and you can't access the next section unless you go through the first section, which is why we made it so that there's a PDF of the question so you know what to expect. So I'll fill this out with everyone on the call and in the video really quick. John Lennon and Beatles, that's like the standard example, but it's kind of boring. Fiora or Jake, do you want to propose a different band or artist or someone we can work with as our example? It's okay if I don't know them. It can be like a, cool death metal band that I can learn about. Otherwise I'm gonna have to pick like
I'm
Fleetwood Mac.
trying to think of one, but
Wanna do
like
Fleetwood Mac? I don't know.
I'm
um,
not familiar with individuals and
let's
bands. That's
do
the problem.
let's do oh, we got something in the chat. Yeah. No, okay, we'll do the Jacksons, and I can try to remember some of them. Okay, so um say, okay, I'm Michael Jackson. I'm applying for this, but I'm applying in the past. I don't think Michael Jackson want to do this. But say the Jackson 5. I can't remember all of the Jacksons, which is I'm putting myself on the spot here. Well, we'll say there's a new band. I don't know. Well, I'm just gonna say some Jacksons. I don't think Janet Jackson was in it, right? But we'll say Janet Jackson was in it, and then like um some other Jacksons. I'm gonna get grilled for this. I should know all the Jacksons, right? So, all right. So we've got the Jackson 5. There's really only 4 slots, but they can't list everyone. Okay, so you're going to proceed with that, and you'll just do an email. So Michael at the Jackson5.net.biz. That's old school. You'll give a phone number, pretty standard. You'll give an address, 111 Motown Road. I don't know what the zip code is in Detroit, fill that out, and then county relationship. So Marion County, Morrow County, both. And in our
This is
hypothetical,
a question I actually had a question on, was the
yeah, go for
county
it.
relationship.
Mhm.
So would that just be like basically describing like were you born and raised here? Do I have to like go super into detail as
No,
far as
no,
like
it can be a sentence or two. Like if I'm someone who's not for, like, say again, I'm Michael Jackson, I might be like, my great grandpa lived in Prospect and I've always wanted to spend time here. It can be something like that if you're have a more distant connection, but if you're just like, I live in Marion, I was raised in Marion, it's pretty straightforward. But if you are, again, someone who it might be a parent or a grandparent with a connection, then you could explain that. We're not policing that. We just want to give a chance for folks to express that. So great questions. Then you say next, right? And then you go to the next section, which is availability. Pretty straightforward. Availability, you just select which months you're available, right? So you can say all, you can say flexible, and my preferred, I want to do April, May, and June, whatever. And you can also say notes. So let me give a hypothetical situation. Say I might be like, I'm touring at the end of March, so it's not ideal, but if it's make or break, let me know, right? Or you can rank the months. You could say select all, and you could say, here's my ranked list of preference. And you could say, I want to do June first, then I want to do April, I want to do May, but you could say, I'm going on vacation third week of May, and then March, don't like it because it's cold. I have Raynaud's disorder, so like I don't like being out in the cold. I have circulatory issues. So whatever you want to do there, you can do any kind of ranked list. And again, great question, Fiora. It can be like as simple as it needs to be or more detailed if you have a complex availability schedule. We just want to know so that we don't, say, okay, we're picking you for March and it ends up that's not a good month for you. So just let us know what you need. Any questions there from folks on the call? All right, and I know we're almost at 1. I'm trying to keep this short and answer questions, but this is hopefully we've been as accommodating as we can be, but we are very open about the fact that there's lots of identities that we don't have and share that we may not be anticipating. We try to do universal design, but fail in that a lot. So just let us know if there's something here that doesn't seem to work for your identity or experience. And these are also optional. We have gender identity categories, we have race and ethnicity categories, we have age. And if you want, you can identify as a youth or emerging artist or an elder artist or a collective that contains both. So you can select any of these categories that work for you. If they don't, you can say other, or you can just not answer them at all. So that's all optional. So as you can see, I can just skip through this entire thing and not answer it if I want, or I can't answer it. This again, both optional, but we want to be accessible and we want to really support marginalized artists. So if you'd like to fill any of this out, if it's relevant, go for it. So identity categories, you can share anything about identity categories that might be relevant to your positionality that you want us to know, but open to you. And same with accommodations. This is largely focused on disability and language justice access, but it's really whatever you might need that we might not anticipate. So examples we gave, someone might have a connective tissue disorder and have trouble accessing uneven terrain. So maybe they want to work out some sort of remote residency at Terradise. Maybe someone is deaf and they want to give their final presentation in ASL, but they know that they want it to be accessible for folks who don't speak ASL. So they might want to have an interpreter to help translate that at the event. Or if your primary language is in Spanish and you want that to be, you want the residency to be accessible to you, but you want to express that like, hey, I don't speak English, so I just want to make sure I'm accommodated. By the way, speaking of that, It's not ideal for language justice and it's not the best in the world, but we're really excited that you can translate the application into any language you want. So if you do speak a language other than English as your first language, like Spanish, you just click this and it translates the application, which is pretty cool. We do have a lot of awesome folks from the Latinx community from many, many places, especially in Western Marion County. We want to make sure it's accessible to everyone there. So that's this part. So we'll skip ahead. You're already on to section 5. This is pretty simple. You just talk about your genres. So there's a pretty wide list here, right? From photography, fiber arts, spoken word, creative writing, folk and traditional arts, blacksmithing, whitesmithing, quilting, film, video, and media arts, performance, herbalism, art installation, multidisciplinary, other. So check as many of those as you want, as few as you want. And here's where you put the artist statement. So no more than 250 words, we say, and it should briefly address the following. What do you make and why? Who or what has most influenced your practice? What are your goals or the interventions you want to make as an artist? A lot of artists make art out of a desire for, a better, more just world in different ways. You don't have to. It can also just be a spiritual practice. So whatever it is for you. And what's your learning curve or edge as an artist? We want to know what's on the horizon for you. And like Fiora asked, great question. You can type things here, or you can upload audio or visual files, or a combination. Hopefully pretty straightforward. And also, if you click other, a little window comes up where you can share more about your genre as well. If you feel like you are outside of these boxes, and again, we don't know all the kinds of creative practice that are possible in the world. So please feel free to click other as well and let us know more. Any questions about this section? Okay, I'm just gonna. I feel awesome. I'm a foodways artist, a blacksmith, and an eco artist, and a film artist. I love this. My artist statement. I'm still Michael Jackson. I make everything. Um, all right, we've got Johnny Jackson joining the call as well. And someone else became a rabbit. Lots of interesting. Welcome, Johnny Jackson. We are towards the end of our presentation. We talk through what Terradise Nature Center is and our history, what the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency is, and how to apply. And now we're just finishing going through the online application that's accessible at terradise.org/ter 2023 application. So thanks for being here. And this will be recorded so we can catch you up on everything. We're probably going to end in about 15 minutes. Folks can go when they need to. Where we're just answering some questions. So there's a bunch of sections in the application here. So we've just talked through the first few. I'm happy to go over that for folks joining later afterwards. I have at least 15 hours of technical support available, and you can access PDFs of the application ahead of time so that you know what questions there are, because you have to kind of click through each section. So we're at the section where we're talking about arts genres. I'm filling out a fake application for as Michael Jackson, but not doing a lot of justice to Michael Jackson because this Michael Jackson is a blacksmith, a foodways artist, a film artist, an environmental artist. The real Michael Jackson was probably all of these genres and awesome. But the big takeaway, I would say, for Johnny and others joining the call or watching later is an accessibility move for this year is you can type out a lot of your core responses like your artist statement, or you can upload an audio and video file. So Fiora, who's an awesome artist on the call, asked, can we do both? And absolutely, you could type 100 words of an artist statement and then like record a quick video saying like, here's who I am, here's what I make and do. I know Johnny on the call is an amazing visionary Afrofuturist and abolitionist writer and organizer. So maybe you want to both talk a little bit about your writing and then record a video to give a sense of that. It's whatever works for you. So any questions on genre? Otherwise, we'll skip ahead to the next part, which are the residency vision and purpose questions. Okay. And thank you all again for spending your Sunday afternoon with us. So, there's a problem with my submission. I have to describe my genres because I clicked other. I'm just going to say, I am Michael Jackson. I don't have to explain anything because I'm Michael Jackson. Okay, so it's your application. You can do what you want. All right, so here's the core 2 narrative questions of the application. And there wasn't a lot of options with our form. Everything's all smushed together. But if you remember, again, you can download the PDF info packet and questions, and it's a lot nicer. So if you look at the question like residency vision there, you can see that it's like broken up into nice bullet points, what it's asking for. In the application itself, it's going to be all smashed together. So that's why we say download that PDF, look at it, it makes it easier. So residency vision again is asking a couple of main questions, right? What is your project that you want to create during Terradise? What new original artwork do you want to create? And not something you have to even have a track record of. You could be a poet who wants to just like take some photographs in nature. We really welcome artists like moving into new areas. And this is where you talk about your project, how your work will engage either our property, our history, our mission, or our legacy at Terradise and our little piece of the Whetstone River. And that could be also looking at, indigenous legacies of the Whetstone River. It doesn't have to be like about Terradise and our people. It could be a larger thing about the ecology in our site. And then we want you to just describe some ideas for your contribution to this final event that you and us and the other artists for your month will plan. That could be a talk, that could be a workshop, that could be an art walk, that could be an activity. So just give us some idea of what you'd like to do. We're not holding you to that. We just like kind of want to know what you're interested in. So you'll type all of that here, or as we mentioned, you can upload an audio or visual submission. So you can, if you've got a phone, like the one, I think I have an iPhone and it's called, voice memo. You can use voice memo and just record something quick and then upload an MP3 there or a video or any combination. The second core question is the residency purpose. Johnny, before you joined, Fiora asked a great question, which is like, what's the difference between these vision and purpose? Like that's kind of vague and confusing. And absolutely, we've updated it a lot from our application last year to try to make that distinction clearer. So vision is really, and this is all in the PDF, but vision is really, yes, Fiora.
Well, you were about to explain, sorry, but I was
Oh,
guessing the
go for it.
vision is more like you said, like what we intend to do.
Absolutely.
And then like as a project and like what is that about? And then as far as the purpose is to how we're trying to grow as an artist
Yeah, like how
from the project and all that stuff.
that's beautiful. I feel like you're an audience plant. That's thank you for restating that in such a like perfect and succinct way. I love that. Yes. So vision is really like what do you want to do with the residency? What new work do you want to make? Like how's it inspired by Terradise and like what's the final event you want to do? And purpose is really like how is this residency going to be good for you as an artist? That could be professionally, that could be personally and spiritually. Like you don't have to be a professional artist for this and it doesn't have to advance your career. It could literally just be like this is spiritually important for my spiritual survival in this work that I do and in this place to have this time and space. Totally okay with you. But the questions in the PDF that we ask for purpose are more like, and you don't have to answer all of these, right? What's your connection to the environment or the natural world? If you have a connection to the Whetstone or Olentangy River, what is that? Or what are the woods, prairies, ecosystems, parks, and spaces that mean something to you? If you grew up in downtown Marion, it might not be place we think of as a natural space like a park. It might be a community park or someone's backyard. But like, what are the spaces that have meant something to you? Is there something you're interested to learn or experience at Terradise as a part of this residency? Maybe you just want time outdoors, totally valid and awesome. And how is the residency going to matter for your personal or professional arts practice? We said, why are you seeking this experience now at this moment in your artistic life? And what do you hope to get out of it or give back? So that second question, like you said, Pure, is really kind of like, how is this going to mean something for you? Here's where you say, I want to record an album that's like an awesome new R&B album that's like, I'm inspired by being out at Terradise and in nature, and I want to do an event that's like helping people in the community learn how to sample sounds. Purpose is really like, I'm going through this moment in my life and I haven't gotten to make music in a long time. And I want the $1,000 to be able to have the dedicated time to make this music. Nobody knows that I do this, or I haven't done this for 10 years or whatever it is. And this is why it's important to me. And I also want to do some healing in nature. So that's kind of the difference between them. Does that make sense? And again, for either of those, you can do any combination of writing things and uploading things. Johnny, if you were to ask how long or how short should the audio or visual be if we do that option instead? We're asking for up to 500 words here. So I would say for these, I might change this. I said no more than 2 minutes. I would say like up to 5 minutes. But if you do something that's like 20 minutes, our selection committee members have a lot of applications to go through. And like with any grants panel, sometimes people are looking at these things a little bit later in the night than they should be, like maybe the day before the morning of the application meeting. So people won't have a ton of time. So just keep that in mind. So don't be super brief. Don't shortchange yourself with just a few sentences because we want to get to know you, but also like consider that someone's maybe reading 40 applications and maybe like they were supposed to give themselves 2 weeks to do it and they're doing it in an hour, right? So if it is long, people might just listen to the first 2 or 3 minutes. But any combination of those things. And then in this section at the end, we do have you type this out. If that's an accessibility barrier, let us know. But we ask for a 250-word biography. That can be where you grew up, your connections to Marion Morrow County. How I'll look at it in the PDF. It's easier to see. How did you get into your particular arts traditions? Any career, community, or family highlights that are relevant to you, and any highlights from your artistic journey. And again, we ask you to type that just because that's what we're going to plug into our email newsletters and social media to kind of promote your residency and your event. And then you can also talk about any materials and supplies you need. That's optional. We may have a budget of up to $100 per person for supplies, possibly. We have to see the applications we get and what things look like. It would be on a reimbursement basis, which we know isn't ideal and isn't always financially accessible. So talk with us about that. But if you anticipate some supplies, we just want to see what that looks like. So I talked a lot. It's already 1:07. Any questions about the kind of heart of the application, the residency vision, the residency purpose question, and the bio? No? Okay, we're almost done, I promise. Then we'll take questions. So I got to just type some stuff in here so we can get through the system here, but click next. There's a problem with my submission. Oh, I skipped a question. Don't do that. And where are we? We're almost at the end. Next. And this is the last and equally most important piece besides those core narrative questions. This is your work samples, right? And we've tried to provide a lot of options here. Again, for anyone listening to the video, this is for the online application. There's also a paper application if you don't have access or you're not comfortable with computers, internet, but it's a little bit different because you'll have to like physically get us your work sample in some way. And I'm going to check the chat too. Awesome. Thank you guys for being a supportive community to each other. We love this. This is a great call today. So you can link to a website or web portfolio. That's not substituting for the 5 work samples. That's just like if you have a website or some sort of space. This is like, for a lot of audio and visual artists, like a Bandcamp, a SoundCloud, a YouTube channel, a TikTok, that sort of thing. You can link to an Instagram as well. I know that a lot of the things owned by Facebook, like I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, for example, and you can't really like peruse people's Instagrams if you don't have one. So just keep in mind, our selection committee members are all ages and may not be on these platforms. Last year, we had a few folks submit like Instagram pages, and it was quite difficult to get access for everyone. And it's also difficult because then you're not curating. For this link, you can just show us a general page, but we want you further down to actually pick 5 specific works because we want you to curate the things of your work that are best for you. If you send us an Instagram of like 400 things, we're also not going to get a sense of which pieces of your work are most meaningful to you right now, right? But this is just a link you can give. And then down here is sample work. I'll look at this in the PDF again because it's easier to see, but we ask you to provide 5 samples of recent artwork. They can be photo, video, sound clips, scans, copies of poems or manuscripts, etc. Any combination of 5 items. So that can be uploads and or links. So you could do 3 uploads and 2 links, 5 links and no uploads, 5 uploads, 1 upload, 4 links. I'm glad that the math is working out because I'm not normally good at live math. Johnny can attest to that. Please keep your video and music and performance clips, if you are some sort of performance artist, fairly short. We say, again, under 2 minutes per clip. We're not a stickler for that. Send in something that's 5 minutes if you want, but just know that our selection committee members may not have the capacity to listen to more, not because they don't love you and don't want to, just because we've gotten more applications than slots, and our selection Zoom meetings are already a lot of hours long. So we just want to be kind to them as well. And you're welcome to upload materials directly or provide links. And we ask for all work samples to include a short 1-line description and a title. And again, for links to social media, please screenshot. So instead of sending us your whole Instagram, you can screenshot a particular post, right? So we want you to link us to specific works. For the first thing that's like portfolio or website, that can be like a whole feed or a whole page. For the 5 samples, we want it to be specific things. We went over this a little bit for Fiora and Jake, but for Johnny joining, this year we're only accepting particular file formats. We had issues with some of the HEIC file formats, which is what an iPhone produces if you do a live photo, and folks who don't have Mac can't access those. So images will take PDF, GIF, I never know how to say that. Same with GIN. I can't say that with GIN. struggle with G's. That's my own thing. Sorry. JPEGs, audio, you can do an MP3, MP4 and WAV. Video, you can do MP3, MP4 and .move, and PDF for written work. Please do not send us, and we made it so you can't send it in anyway, but don't send us Pages files or Word files. Those cause access issues on different platforms, and we have a very diverse selection committee with different technical setups. So again, we can accept any combination of that and do a description. So here's what it looks like in the system itself, right? You can upload your work samples here. So again, you can drop 5 things into that, no problem. And you can describe it. You can say, if I'm Michael Jackson, I can say Michael Jackson's hit song. What year did Thriller come out? I don't know. 87. Um, 1991. I'm just going to make something up. I'm so sorry. I should know this. So you can just kind of give, someone in the chat might know. 80s. Okay. Johnny says 80s. I'm just going to say 80s, right? So you can describe the things you upload here, Michael Jackson, etc. What's another great Michael Jackson song? Right. So you can just describe what your work is that you've uploaded. And then for links, it's a little bit different. Scream. I don't know that one. I have a lot to learn. So title of the work here, again, we'll say Scream, my hit song. You can link to the YouTube or whatever and any notes. This is my fave, so just do some combination. And if you want to add more links, you just click here, and you can put the link in youtube.com/ Michael, youtube.com/scream. These aren't real links. Love this one too, actually. And that's what you do. You just describe your work, any combination of 5 things, and verify that you're not a robot, which hopefully is pretty simple. And then you click submit. I've been doing these with each of the info sessions. So it's so funny. Our inbox is full of these like very bizarre fake applications that I filled out for John Lennon and Michael Jackson. But that's it. Congrats. We've applied as a community here in this info session. I know we're like way over time. It's at 1:15, but just to recap, that's the application. You can get to that if you start out at terradise.org and you don't know where to find it. You go to TNC programs, Terradise Environmental Arts Residency. That brings you to this page that gives you info, and most of these green buttons point to apply now. You can also, like we said, download the flyer. If you want to give this information to someone else, it also has the Zoom information for the office hour sessions that I'm going to be offering. It has the application deadline and how to reach us at Terradise Nature Center. And just a quick recap for everyone in the room and for Johnny, who joined a little bit afterwards. I'll make these slides available, but it just talks about what Terradise is, our awesome founders, Trella and Ray Romine, and the work they did at the intersections of natural and cultural history and arts. A little bit about what our residency does and what we expect. The big things are we're open to artists in all genres, especially seeking to support artists from marginalized positionalities and who might not have had access to paid artist residencies. We are non-residential. You just have to visit Terradise 3 times. You need to be living in, working in, or from Marion and Morrow County, but the from is very broad. We want to include space for Indigenous peoples who have been dispossessed and displaced from this part of Ohio, for example. If your parents, grandparents are from Marion County, you describe that to us. And you need to just pitch a project or create new work during your residency and work with us on a public program that's going to include you and another artist for your month. You get $1,000 stipend. And we have 8 slots available, 2 in March, 2 in April, 2 in May, and 2 in June of this year. And there's more in this slide deck that I'll put up. And the other big takeaway is I have technical assistance office hours as a part of this grant to help any applicants. I can review drafts, I can help you brainstorm, I can look at work samples with you and kind of strategize what might be the most compelling thing to put in. I've got 4 hours on a Sunday on January 8th, couple of hours on Tuesday evening, or you can book me by request. These are the important websites. And again, I'm at Terradise Nature Center at gmail.com, terradise.org/arts residency. There's my personal, oh, that's wrong. My phone number is 614, not 613. Phone number, and you can write to me at a PO box if you want. So thank you all for being here. I know we're running way, way late, but does anyone have any questions before we go? I'm going to stop the recording if that's cool, and just truly appreciate everyone being here and everyone watching this later online. Thanks for supporting the residency, and we hope you apply.